and gamers together now have the sheer magnitude to be a significant unifying force for the world.
If I'm to choose between a greater and lesser evil, I'd rather not choose at all.
You were almost a jibble sandwich.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Be better.
Check this out.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the 333rd episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me just about everywhere at Brendan8bit, and joining me, as is the August/beginning of September, we won't talk about that tradition here on the THG Residency Series, is my dear friend. You can find him on them socials at Jono himself, Australia's finest, Jono Pech. How the bloody hell are ya?
Good, Brendan. It's episode 333, and 33 is my favourite number, so I think we're going to have a good one today.
There you go. Any reason why 33 is your favourite number? That's a very unique number to take as your favourite, as your prized numerical possession.
It's just all the best. Well, it's not all the best, but if you wear 33 in basketball, you're pretty good. That was my young brain's decision. You know, Bird, Kareem, Ewing, the list goes on. It was just like Pippen, you know, can't go wrong.
A lot of pressure then donning the 33 if you're an up and coming hooper, then that's for sure. Like there's heavy as the head that wears that 33 shaped crown.
It's retired in by most teams, I think. So that's one of the problems when I play NBA 2K is I pick 33 and then I get drafted by some team where that number's retired. So it defaults me to some other number.
Yeah, that's tough. And do you ever get like when that happens and you sort of have to re-roll your number, just go, all right, well, I'll be 22 now or 44. You like that sort of repetition?
No, I just go with like, I think what Shaq did, and it's just like, okay, well, I guess I'll be 32 or I guess I'll be 34 or whatever is available.
That's fair. Yeah, but 333. It's a palindrome, that. So, same as it is forwards as it is backwards. But it was surprisingly stressful when I was reading the number out during the intro read there. I'm like, am I going to stuff this up? But I did not. I stuck that 333rd landing. I can't do it now, but I got it first time. So go me. But JP, I think we should probably start things off, as is the new tradition here on THG, with this.
The week that was.
So JP, tell me all the things. What have you been doing this past week? What have you been playing, watching, eating, drinking, anything else in between? Take me on the journey for the week that was.
I've kind of been stumbling around the desert when it comes to video games lately. I've just been I could probably think of a better analogy. It's like I've been on Tinder swiping left and right on different games and trying to find something that sticks, but I found the one, and that's Sea of Stars. I was waiting for this one. It's the one I've been waiting for. Okay. And we're in love, I'd say. Things are going very well.
Ooh. And even after just that first or second date, it's the L word. I love that. I'm a sucker for romance, so tell me more about Sea of Stars.
Well, for people out there who don't know, Sea of Stars is from Sabotage Studios that most recently before this released The Messenger, which is one of the best platformers of the past 5 or 6 years, I would say. It's fantastic, and they've jumped into a turn-based traditional RPG with Sea of Stars. It's beautiful pixel art. It's very much harkening back to I guess Chrono Trigger would probably be one of the key influences with the art style and a lot of the gameplay as well, because it doesn't take you to a different screen for the battles. It just carries on without going to that typical, you know, what you would expect in like a Final Fantasy or a Pokemon.
Yeah, that transition to the battle screen. Yeah.
So that makes it feel kind of snappy and quick, and then it's from what I gather, taken combat influence from the Mario RPG series, where you're attacking, but then you're also hitting a button at the moment of impact to get a bonus, or on defense, you're pressing a button to try and block and reduce some of that damage. So it's not as passive as most turn-based RPGs are, as far as just hitting your move and then watching the animation play out. You have to stay engaged in combat and try and get those bonuses. So it's pretty sweet, and it's got a really fun tone. in this fantasy world. So I'm digging it. I'm probably a third of the way through it if I had to just guess by how many locations I've visited and looking at kind of the walkthrough total of locations. So I'm fingers crossed able to get it done by the time Starfield hits full release later this week. Even though I'm in love with Sea of Stars, it's not forever, possibly.
Okay. Just
I
a
might
fleeting
marry,
romance, eh?
Yeah.
Little summer loving.
Yeah, and then I might move on to the next, which is definitely going to be Starfield, and we probably have a bit more to say about that later.
It looks so pretty, like referencing Sea of Stars here, still on the topic. It looks pretty, and from what I've seen in the trailers and just some gameplay slice leading up to the release, and I had a look at some stuff earlier today as well, the soundtrack is really cool as well. It's got a real good vibe to it, and it just throws me right back to playing the old Super Nintendo, playing classics like Chrono Trigger you mentioned, even like Secret of Mana. I was thinking back to that, which I think might have been my first actual RPG experience as a youngin', and it was hard to grapple all the concepts of a JRPG at I don't know how old I was, maybe 8.
Yeah.
So I'm keen to give Sea of Stars a look, but I just don't know when. I really don't know.
One of the fun things about this one is it's on PS Plus and I should say PS Plus Extra, and it's on Xbox Game Pass, so it's pretty much available to, I'd say, most people out there.
Yeah.
For that subscription price, and on top of that, it's still managed to sell 100,000 copies on its first day, which they'd have to be very pleased, because that's on top of however many, probably hundreds of thousands or millions could be downloading it with the subscription. So a hit on their hands, and I think the Metacritic, last I checked, was very high. I might just quickly look that up, but at the point of like the day that it released, it was, I think, the third highest of the year as far as what's been coming out. So on PS5 it's 91, so it's dropped down a little now. It's also 91 on PC and on Switch. Sorry, on Switch it's 91, and then it's 88 on PC. So
so it's still sitting, like if you average out, it's about 90, which is a banger of a score.
Yeah, 90 on Xbox Series X too. So it was even higher before. It was like 95 when the day of release and when those first reviews were coming out. So it's dropped down, but yeah, it's very, very, it's a really like well-made game and has a really fun sense of humor to it as well. So it's, often these turn-based RPGs can take themselves a little bit too seriously, and that's often one of my main complaints with them as well. But this is just, it's got the composer from Chrono Trigger and Chrono Cross in it.
Really?
So that's probably why it sounds so good to you.
Okay.
Yeah. And even though it's a throwback with the pixel art graphics, they've implemented like modern lighting techniques that make it feel really fresh as well.
Okay. That's exciting to see. And the fact that it is in that Game Pass subscription that I'm already paying for makes it a lot more easier for me to get my hands on it. So I'll find some time between now and the end of the year to give it a look, because with a score like that, you got to give it its due if you want to put some fair Game of the Year noms out there. So that's very exciting. And I think, like you mentioned earlier, just talking about it now, how the tone, where there is some fun to it. And circling back, I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, but I haven't been able to play much new outside of this. But Baldur's Gate 3 is the exact same thing. Like the zaniness and the craziness that just weaves in and out of certain quest lines and certain ongoing long-term sort of story-based quests that you're working on, just makes this game constantly feel fresh. Like, I'm only just into Act 2 now, and I've put, I think, 55 hours into the game so far. Like, there's 3 acts. Wow. And, like, I know you can mainline it, I think, in about 35 hours, I think, is the average time that I've seen around the place. But yeah, I've been just getting so lost out in the literal digital wilderness in this game, where I'm just like, I'm just going to walk that direction and see what happens. I'm going to go interact with this humanoid creature over there and see what happens. And just the flow-on effect from that is just taking me into so many new and scary and stressful and funny and rewarding experiences. Like, this game is just the gift that keeps on giving for me. Like, there is so much to see and do, and there is so much depth to not only your main party, but just every ancillary character you meet on the way to the end goal, just they're fleshed out. They've got great sort of dialogue, the voice acting, the mocap. It's all just like, like Variant Games are masters at their craft with this. And I can just continually re-emphasize how special this game is. And it is very much the game of the year for me at the moment, barring any sort of changes that happen between now and December 31. It is very special and it's just great in every single way. And I've been loving life working through that. And I will quickly mention... Oh, sorry, JP, you go.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, I feel like you've come up on it significantly since the last time we talked about it, because that's pretty high praise when we've had, Dead Space and Resident Evil, 4 remake and some games that I know you've been a big fan of, Diablo as well. So to say that's the front runner, that's a pretty big call. So you've piqued my interest as far as, everything I hear about this game makes me more and more curious. And to know that it isn't a completely dry and over the top serious approach to that kind of D&D world makes me even more thinking that I'll have to give it a look in the future.
I think you really need to. And the cool thing is when you do spin it up, like I can jump in and join your game and either bring my character in or take control of one of your characters so we can get a true D&D experience. Like there is multiplayer capabilities in this game, so we can play as our own characters and play them our own way and have all kinds of craziness ensue where maybe you're wanting to attack a thing a certain way and I'm like, screw you, JP, I'm going to go over here and cause ruckus and kill everything and whatever else. So you can really get that D&D experience in a video game, and man, it is so special. So yeah, I'm curious to see if Starfield, Spider-Man 2, either of those two could potentially, sneak up to sort of maybe dethrone it, because they're two, I guess, on the like list that I'm side-eyeing is like, you could be the game of the year when it's all said and done. But right now it's Baldur's Gate 3 with a bullet for me, and it's so good. And something else that's so good, it's not game of the year, but I also got to dive into Season 4, Chapter 4, Last Resort as it's called, in Fortnite, which is, obviously the giant BR game that is still taking over the world. And I just wanted to highlight, they've just brought in some new features and functions into this latest chapter. They've got like suitcase-based gun turrets, because it's themed on this sort of chapter about like a heist. So you're breaking into this mansion, stealing all kinds of treasures. So they've sort of lent into sort of the heist and the crime-based subgenre of film. And the gun turret suitcase, awesome. And there's also this like powered battering ram that you can ride not only like on the horizontal straight through buildings, but you can shoot it up into the sky and like land and just do these big like AoE smashes. And it just adds so much craziness. And then you combine that with, they've got these remote mines and you can strap them to anything. Like we went full suicide bomber style last weekend, where we'd jump in a car, put all these remote mines all over the car and just drive it into a battle, and I'll jump out of the car and then just detonate this car and just watch all these enemies go flying. Like, it is so much zany, bonkers, think about it and you can do it type of mentality in Fortnite at the moment. And it just really breathed this big burst of fresh air into the game again for me. Because I was sort of like, nah, I'm a bit off Fortnite. I'm out of it. I'm playing Diablo. I'm a Baldur's Gate guy now. But playing it last weekend, I was like, God damn, this is piss fun. I'm having a great time. I'm laughing my ass off, and I want to play more of it because they've just added these other new little crazy, unpredictable wrinkles that just sort of constantly turn the game on its head. Like, Epic is so good at just refreshing this formula, adding a nice new little tweak that just makes everything seem new and bizarre again, and they've done it with Last Resort, JP.
Yeah, that's interesting to hear. I think that, it's gone, Fortnite has gone beyond the joke, I guess, that it has been, as far as, the meme of stupid kids playing this game and the Ready Player One factor of just every zany character appearing there. The fact that it's lasted this long and they've kept it fresh and they've brought people back that were probably trying to get out, like you, they deserve full credit for keeping things interesting, keeping people focused, locked in, engaged in the marketplace of it and the whole thing, because I've never touched the game. I downloaded it maybe once or twice and just never got into it, never booted it up, but I still have to respect that it's it's conquering and will continue to conquer. It's like, I guess like GTA 5 is probably the closest comparison I can think. That game came out 10 years ago and people still play it. And I think that, when all is said and done, Fortnite will probably have an even longer tail than that.
Yeah, it's genius work by Epic, and just their constant collabs in the store where they're just bringing in these heavyweights of pop culture from Marvel, from DC, from Star Wars, or just the broader Disney universe, to pop stars, to professional athletes. Like, it is just this melting pot of what's so hot right now. Like, it's the Hansel Zoolander sort of quote there. Like Fortnite, it's like, yeah, it's so hot right now. Whatever is happening, they're just in the game all the time. Like, they've got Ahsoka coming in very shortly off the back of the Disney spin-off, and they just did some stuff with Jujutsu Kaisen, which is just sort of released its second season in the anime franchise. So they're constantly just collabing with all these massive big IPs that you'd never think the studio heads would approve to get into a game, but they somehow constantly make it in there, and it just adds nothing to the overall game, but it just has this personal touch where you can be your favorite characters and kill your least favorite characters potentially on the battlefield, and it just creates this rivalry round by round that I cannot get enough of. Something else I can't get enough of, JP, Zom 100 Bucket List of the Dead. It's a new anime that's come out in the last couple of months. The good thing is it's not only available on Crunchyroll, but it's also on Netflix. So if you've got a bit of an appetite for a zombie-themed anime, you can check it out. The first season hasn't completed itself yet, so it's still airing week by week on both of those platforms. It's done by the studio known as Bug Films, and the rough concept of it is, a zombie outbreak has taken place in the world, but this obviously focused on Japan. The character that you're getting most of the airtime around is a young sort of optimistic guy that's sort of just gotten out of high school and gets into the workforce and just wants to prove himself, named Akira, and he lands this job. He's like, this is awesome. Life's going to be great. Work's going to be great. And he just gets stuck in the corporate machine where they're getting overworked. They're working like 12-hour days, staying at the office, waking up, getting like beaten to death by this corporation and the boss. So he almost becomes zombified before the zombie outbreak occurs. And then the zombie outbreak occurs, and I guess he starts living again. He's like, I'm free, I'm out of this job. And he's like joyful, like he's happy roaming around, even though the zombies trying to kill him everywhere. But I just wanted to highlight as well with this anime, the animation style itself is phenomenal. What they do with the gore and the blood and the viscera and stuff, they use like really vibrant pops of like neon and paint. So when you see the blood splatters and the bodies getting smashed up, it's like giant baby blue, psh, giant yellow, psh, and it really just makes this thing a lot more joyful and fun, even though it is death and chaos and carnage and horrific things going on. So it's really funny and it's really light, but then it also can get a little bit dark and serious. It's just really, really enjoyable, JP. I know you're not a big anime head, but it is very fun, and I recommend checking it out on Netflix. Even just peeking the first episode, just to see if it's worth your while, because it's gorgeous to watch and just the tone is right up my alley.
Sounds a bit like a Tarantino movie, the way the blood just flies around, and it's almost like it takes it adds almost a levity to the drama of, like, how ridiculous it is and that kind of thing. So sounds interesting.
Yeah, and I see you've been checking out something this week as well. You wanted to highlight?
I was just wanting to give an update on my my literature when it comes to the books I was reading. I mentioned Blood, Sweat and Pixels last time. Finished that was great. Moved on to Masters of Doom by David Kushner, which came out quite a while ago. I think early 2000 or mid 2000s, 2003 it was. And that's subtitle is How Two Guys Created an Empire and Transformed Pop Culture. And that's about John Romero and John Carmack over at id and the development of Doom back in the 90s. So just started reading that. Quite an interesting insight into that early phase of PC gaming and how it transitioned from the arcade to Apple II to PC, and still very early in that book, but having a good time learning about that era, because we were kids and we didn't really know what was going on the way that we're following the games industry now. So I always enjoy those opportunities and insights into that side of game dev, especially now that I'm involved in that industry.
That's pretty exciting. Funnily enough, a very much related story to the Doom and id discussion.
Yeah.
I was away for work at the Security Expo all week this week, and you know, where I work, our primary sell to marketers with this software platform that we develop and own, and we actually spun up Doom in the piece of software that we sell to the security industry this week. So when it was a bit of downtime on the stand, we were playing Doom through our open software platform on the stand at the Security Expo. So it was super fun, obviously very irrelevant to what was happening around us on the show floor, but it broke up the monotony a little bit. Do they go into detail? I've never looked into it myself, and maybe I should instead of just asking, but like what's the origin story of the name id? Like, I remember as a kid I thought it was like ID software, but like do they go into details about how they sort of workshop that, or has it got some kind of special meaning?
I haven't got to that section yet because I'm at the point where the two of them are working at a company called Softdisk, which was where they worked prior. So no, I don't think I can answer that question for you.
Well, don't keep reading, because I don't want you to spoil the reading. Don't keep reading online right now to find it, because I don't want you to spoil the book that you're working through. So circle back to me if they do uncover that in future chapters, because I'm very curious as to the meaning of id.
I'll let you know.
All right, so that's what we've been doing this week. I guess we could shift over to this.
News and notes from around the internet, presented by Audio Technica.
All right, listeners, before we go through the news here, obviously go upgrade your audio game today over at audiotechnica.com. They are the best in the biz when it comes to gaming. Headsets, microphones, headphones, turntables, you name it. You want to hear some stuff better? They can wrap your ears in a nice, sexy, comfortable piece of plastic and foamy goodness that'll have you headbanging and tapping along like you never have before. So check them out. Also check them out on the socials at Audio Technica AU for the local ones here in Australia, and at Audio Technica for the ones abroad. But the first bit of news, or the first bit of rumor or update that we're going to sort of unpack here, is Elder Scrolls 6 is years and years and years away, JP. And it's very disheartening, because it's been 5 years since Bethesda announced that Elder Scrolls 6 was in pre-production, is still years away, making it possible for an entire decade to pass before the game is in our hands. In an interview with Spanish publication Vandal, a Bethesda spokesperson said, "We shouldn't expect to learn more about Elder Scrolls 6 until a few years after the release of Starfield." So obviously Starfield is dropping in the coming days on the 6th of September, which has been currently scoring an 87 on Metacritic. That could go up or could go down as future reviews roll out. But JP, Elder Scrolls 6, not going to learn more about it until a few years after Starfield. So we're going to learn more, and that might then mean into the fact that we might not get the game for a few more years after that. So this is very depressing reading this out loud to you, JP, because I want more high fantasy from Bethesda, and I want it now.
I mean, there's nothing surprising about this to me. I know it's been a joke that I've been kind of throwing around socials and in chats since it was announced. Like, it was just such a kind of a short-sighted moment. I think Todd Howard said, like, yeah, probably shouldn't have done it the way we did it. But even at the time, it was very clear, like, they were going out there every year. They do this Bethesda conference, and that year in particular, it was a little bit light on, and they kind of just threw that in there at the end to get that hype factor. And the fact that we were at that point still like 3 or 4 years away from Starfield, or 5 years away from Starfield, I think at the time, it was just like, what are you? This game is not coming out for 10 years at least. If you look at the cycle from, Skyrim to Fallout 4, it was like 4 years. From Fallout 4 to Starfield, that was, I think, 7 years. We're not seeing Elder Scroll for another 6 years at minimum, I would say. And anyone that thought otherwise was not really thinking too hard about it. So.
That's fair. That's very fair. It's sad to think about. Like, I know on the one hand we always talk about don't rush a game, release it when it's ready type of thing. Mm-hmm. And I will do my best to remain patient. It's not as if we're short of supply as far as games constantly coming out to keep us occupied anyway. But man, I love the Elder Scrolls so much. So much. And it's a shame that we're going to have to wait to, God, I don't know, close to 2030 for this sucker to come out. Who knows? I don't know if that's
it'll
being
be almost
naive.
It'll be like 20 years between Skyrim and the next one, just about.
That's nuts, hey. That's
It
nuts.
is. And you know what? There's good things about this, because if you could just think about the advancements in the tech and the understanding of the consoles, it might even be PS6 and Xbox Series Z or whatever it is
Who
by the
knows
time
what
that
dumb
comes
naming
out.
convention they'll throw out there for it.
But I have to say, there is always the chance that Fallout 4 was released the same year it was announced. Not all of their games have like this huge cycle of promotion that we've had with Starfield. So maybe we get news about it in 3 years and it comes out the same year. That would be a shock, because it's, I think, said that they're in pre-production still. Yeah, it's in that headline there. So pre-production, big game like that. I think it's going to be all of Tamriel this time, where they probably can't get away with just, siphoning off the different regions like they have in the past with the way that games have grown since 2011. But there's a lot to look forward to, and it's a long time to look forward to.
It is a long time, but I guess to get your Tamriel fix and just your ESO fix in general, or your ES fix in general, is to jump into Elder Scrolls Online if you're that desperate. Like, it's still fun. I haven't played in a long time, so I'm not the best advocate for it right now, but anytime I have jumped in, I've really enjoyed my time with it, and it is a big game. So like you said, JP, I think what people are getting used to with Elder Scrolls Online, as far as the scope and the sheer amount of area to cover and explore and do your thing in, Elder Scrolls 6 needs to be a bit of a behemoth, so we'll see how it goes. On the PlayStation 6 and Xbox 2, they're probably going to go back and reset the naming convention, or so, who knows? Microsoft do weird things with that.
They'll call it like the Xbox.
Oh yeah, or just the X. I don't know. It's late here on a Saturday night.
The X square.
The X cubed, and be like, Phil Spencer, what's the relevancy of that? And I'm like, what's not the relevancy of this media? But Elder Scrolls 6 in pre-production still, so don't be sending Santa wish list requests for Elder Scrolls 6 this year, kiddos, or next year, or maybe the subsequent years to come. Just maybe wait.
Don't pre-order it either.
No. Something else that we might need to be waiting a little while on too, JP, is the next bit of news, which I've titled Toss a Coin to Your Witcher Staff, because there are currently more than 250 developers that are actively working on the next mainline Witcher game, which is currently codenamed Polaris. And while the Polaris team had grown to almost 260 developers, Adam Kosinski, who is the CEO of CD Projekt, has stated that once Phantom Liberty is out later this year, they will be transferring a big part of that team over to the new project. So it essentially sounds like CDPR is going to be putting a lot of its resources into The Witcher moving forward. So we're going to maybe have potentially 500 bodies working on this Polaris project, or the next mainline entry into the Witcher franchise, which is exciting. Obviously, this is also a departure from the Red Engine. This is going to get, it's getting developed on the Unreal 5 engine, so we're going to have a different look and feel to the Witcher that we've come to familiarize ourselves with over the last 3 games, but I'm keen as a bean for this. Obviously, there's also the strong rumors out there that they're also working on an official remake of the 2007 The Witcher. But we'll see. So we might get a new entry into the franchise and also a refreshed entry of the first game coming out very close together
cool
in the next few years, which is interesting, but I'm thirsty and horny for more Witcher, so give it to me.
Yeah, it'll be, when do we think this is coming out? We're talking about release dates. I think, would 2025 be too early, probably?
For Polaris?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to say there's no accountability here, but I'm going to say 2026 for Polaris, and maybe the remake. Do you think they'd try and position it to come out before or after?
I think before. It depends what kind of remake it is. If it's a ground up, or if it's a fresh coat of paint on a pretty old game, Red Dead style.
I think it might be a ground up, because they're saying that that's getting done on UA 5 as well.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, I think that you'd probably want to release that first, so you can be like, go back to the beginning, but before, The Witcher 4 or whatever the next one's going to be called is going to have like all the hype because it's the sequel or the follow-up to The Witcher 3. So before that, they can say, go back to where it all started, and they can do that and maybe tie it into like the last season of the TV show or whatever's happening with that. But having at least 550 people to throw around on different projects, I can see at a certain point a lot of those people getting moved over to that remake if that's happening, or maybe they've already done a good chunk of it. If you think about the fact that, Cyberpunk's been out for 2 years, almost 3 years. Yeah. So they haven't just been doing Liberty, what's it called?
Phantom Liberty.
They haven't just been doing Phantom Liberty this whole time. They haven't just been patching all the issues with Cyberpunk this whole time.
Maybe they have. There was a few issues.
Yeah, I don't think that they had 550 people working on patches. So maybe they're already deep into that remake, because that's like remaking that game is probably a lot simpler than developing a brand new story and everything that's going to happen with, like, think about the amount of writing and quests, scripting, and all that kind of pre-production that goes into a game like The Witcher. It's insane. It's one of the games that was featured in that last book I read, the Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and the development process for that was just incredible. Even though The Witcher 2 was a big game, The Witcher 3 just took it into and like they were basically trying to make something that had been never done before, and they pulled it off. So on top of the issues with Cyberpunk and The Witcher being that kind of probably safe territory to go back to, I think they really will be aiming to do that kind of 10 out of 10 experience that a lot of people thought The Witcher 3 was, with new engines and new hardware. It's a lot to look forward to, and I'd be hopeful that 2026 would be when we see that game.
Yeah, maybe we get the remake of The Witcher 1 in 2025, and then The Witcher codename Polaris currently, the next mainline Witcher game in 2026. Can you imagine if Liam Hemsworth is going to be like mocapped in as The Witcher for the remake? Do you think they'd ever do something like that?
Oh, it'd have to be Henry Cavill. Like there'd be gamer petitions for that. I think. And because they're separate to each other, like CD Projekt isn't the developers or the studio, like they're not involved in the TV show, I don't think, are they?
No, but you'd think like Netflix off the back of that would probably want to try and weave their greedy little mitts in amongst what they're doing in the future to try and get more blood out of this coin, I guess you could say.
What a move it would be for CD Projekt to just go, we're gonna have Henry come in for this one, because we know that he's the one true king, the one true Witcher. That would be like getting David Hayter back into Solid Snake or something, you know?
Yeah, no, that'd be some Stan Marsh sized balls in a wheelbarrow type of move from CD Projekt for sure. But I'd be all for it. I love me some drama. I love me some power moves. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, the short version of this, listeners, is that CD Projekt are throwing a lot of bodies at The Witcher, whether it be a retread of the past or what they're building for the future. So we'll see what happens when these come out before Elder Scrolls 6 in the next couple of years. The next little bit of news: PlayStation Plus is about to become a minus? ? In a distinctly unpopular move, PlayStation has announced a price increase for all three of its PlayStation Plus subscription tiers. Aussie subscribers from September 6th will pay an additional 20 to 27% depending on your tier, with prices to be set at rounded up figures of $96 for the basic annual subscription, $170 for PS Plus Extra, and $197 for PS Plus Deluxe. By comparison, the increase does keep Sony's subscription model cheaper than equivalent tiers in the Xbox Game Pass model, albeit with a considerably smaller game library. JP, you're the stronger of the two of us as far as it comes to Sony fandom, so I want to get your feeling on this. Where you at? Are you okay with this? Are you like, yep, I'm going to happily pay this? Or are you starting to now go, maybe not?
It's, as you said, distinctly unpopular. There's been nothing but complaints about this. And like, who's not going to complain when the price of something goes up, whether it's a Netflix, or a Game Pass or anything, because they're all going up. Let's face it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Game Pass had its turn a bit earlier this year, and it's kind of just the amount that it's going up is the head scratcher. Where it's not an increment of $10; it's quite a significant increase of $20 a month or whatever it is. Sorry, $20 a year or $40 a year, or in some cases even more than that. So I think it's a bit of an L for Sony. I think they'd have to be disappointed with the controversy that's come out of it, the backlash that's come out of it, especially since they weren't savvy enough to sweeten the pot with, we promise, we're going to give you more value than ever before. We're adding to our library all the time. They didn't really phrase it in that kind of angle. So it's really just like prices, economy. Sorry, buds, it's going up.
Inflation. Sorry,
deal with it. And that is inevitable, and that is also fair, to be honest. That the price of games, whether it's you're buying them a la carte or through Game Pass, they will inevitably go up. And I will say that the comparison to Game Pass is apt. It's I think $18 a month in Australia, and then because you get a discount for the 12-month subscription in PlayStation Plus, it does work out to be $16 a month if you go for the full 12 months. So that's really the only thing going for them, is that you can get those discounts, and occasionally they'll have a sale, and you can like I did. I grabbed 2 years worth when it was half price or something. So I've still got another, I think, 14 months before mine runs out at that cheaper rate. So yeah, it's tough. I feel especially sorry for the people in the States, because I did some exchange rate calculations, Brendan, and they're paying a lot more over there than we are. They're paying $20 a month. We're paying $16. Game Pass over there, they're paying $26 a month for Ultimate, while we're just paying $18.
Really? That's crazy. It's like, we're usually the ones getting fisted when it comes to these types of things. So that's nuts if that's true.
Write in and tell me if my maths is completely wrong. But that was what I researched today.
You're a trustworthy fella, so I'll take your word on this one. But yeah, it's not ideal, and I'm hoping that Sony do maybe come out, because this sort of increased bump is happening in 4 days' time. Like, we're recording on the 2nd of September right now. So as of the 6th, if you're not a current active user of the PlayStation Plus subscription, where you might have 6 months, 12 months in lieu, and you're trying to re-up after this coming week, you're going to be on the hook for that extra 20 to 27% markup there. So hopefully, listeners, if you are getting close to a renewal, get online where you can and try and find some of the wallet top-ups you can get via Amazon to save yourself a little bit of cheddar, and just sort of stack as many months or years as you can at one time to avoid paying that extra money. I know it's going to cost you a little bit more up front to potentially stack 12 to 24 months or 36 months on top, but for now, do it as you can, because you'll save a bit of money in the long haul. Because like you said, JP, everything in life is going up. Like, the cost of living and the cost of everything else outside of the, in air quotes, direct living types of functions is constantly crawling upwards as opposed to downwards, and it sucks. So if you can save some pennies, do it where you can, because gaming ain't the cheapest hobby sometimes.
No, and it really just enforces that, or reinforces that people. I think we're going to see people drop off some of these subscriptions. There's been, I think it was videogameindustry.biz had an article about the stagnated growth of subscription models with Game Pass and PS Plus, where during COVID they spiked incredibly, and that was a huge time for the games industry, and PS Plus only just brought in its subscription model beyond the, it used to be just the 2 free games a month. That's the basic tier now. Now we have this huge game library with extra and deluxe, but the rate that's growing is dropping off. It's dropped off a lot, and I think that there are people that have realized that I don't need a million games to play at once. I can wait for sales, and I can still pick them off. It's perfect for people that haven't played all these games before, or they want to catch up on a bunch of things. And that's the way that I used Game Pass when I first got my Xbox, because I hadn't played a lot of these games, but I haven't had a Game Pass subscription all year, pretty much. That'll change when Starfield comes out, probably. But it is interesting to see whether the cost of living will cause some kind of perfect storm where people can't afford to live, therefore they can't afford these increases in pricing for these things that are optional purchases as well.
I say a big fat yes to what you just said, like 110%. You got to start picking and choosing your hobbies or your secondary expenses, because rent's going up, electricity, fuel, all the things that we need, food, all the day-to-day stuff that literally keeps us alive and with the roof above our head are constantly on the upswing. And when you combine all these subscription-based services doing the same, you've got to start pick and choosing your battles or your allegiances. And you sort of got to drop off a few here and then you pick it up there when maybe a new game or a new show comes out. I need to start doing that because I'm just stupidly paying for them all every month. Like, I haven't turned on my PlayStation in I don't know how months, and yet I'm on the hook for the PS Plus every month and all these other things. So I need to be smarter with my money and my time. And I don't think that's an isolated thing, because it's not cheap, and it's death by a thousand cuts, because sometimes you're like, it's only X amount of money, so you don't sort of think about it too heavily, and then you go, my Netflix just came out, my PlayStation Plus just came out, Prime Video just came out, and then you're crunching all the numbers, you're like, wow, that's maybe $200 a month I'm burning on these things, where I'm only playing or watching 50% of those things. So I need to take a step back after this podcast and maybe reevaluate my life a little bit, JP.
Do your budget, and on top of that, they're cutting back on password sharing. So if you were sharing your Netflix, sorry, bud. If you were sharing your Disney, I've heard that Disney's looking at cracking down on password sharing as well. So that would, that's grabbing an extra 10 or 12 or $15 from a lot of people every month that they weren't previously. So that's, for some families, it's going to be, sorry, kids, we're cancelling Disney, or is it maybe I'll go a few months without Game Pass?
Well, for me, that doesn't change my day-to-day, because I'm the sucker that everyone mooches all the passwords off. So it impacts everyone else that's listening to this podcast right now that have all my logins. So, pay up, you cheap bastards. The next bit of news, I guess it ties into some of that sort of storm that we were talking about regarding cost of living and scaling back and just general expenses. And we've titled this one, Embracing Unemployment. So Volition, best known as the developer of the Saints Row series, has been shut down by its parent company, Embracer Group. The news was announced on the company's LinkedIn account. In their post, Volition explained that the reason for the closure was tied to parent company Embracer Group's new restructuring program to, in quotes, strengthen Embracer and maintain its position as a leader in the video game industry. As a part of that program, they evaluated strategic and operational goals and made the difficult decision to close Volition effective immediately. Most recently known for last year's Saints Row reboot, Volition was founded way back in 1993 as Parallax Software. They were developers of the Descent series. In 1996, it was renamed Volition and gave us the Summoner, Red Faction, and Saints Row franchises. The Volition team will be supported in their job transition. However, many long-term staff are expected to be out of work. The news follows significant job losses announced for similar economic reasons at BioWare, Riot Games, and Firaxis in 2023. But wait, JP, there is more. The hits keep coming for Embracer staff. As reported by GameDeveloper.com, a series of layoffs have reportedly taken place at Gearbox Publishing. Again, it's LinkedIn posts, this time from former employees confirming the news with announcements throughout the summer, and as recently as this week revealing they've been let go from the Borderlands Development's publishing arm. So JP, it's not a good time. And here we go with this same marketing puff where they're trying to talk about that this is aligning strategic and operational goals to make the company better, or at least they didn't say anything about making better games by cutting all these staff or closing this studio. But the fact it was pretty much like they must have almost like rolled into work and just their swipe key wouldn't allow the door access. Like the lights were off. Like it was just done instantaneously. Like this wasn't like we're transitioning, we're closing down in the next few months. It's not effective immediately. Volition is dead. So good luck, everybody. Take your severance pay and we'll see you later. Like, this sucks, man.
It does, yeah. It makes you wonder, like, what's Volition been doing since that Saints Row reboot came out?
Licking their wounds, JP, because that game sucked.
It's free on PS Plus now, and I'm kind of like side-eyeing it. Like, did they patch it? Did they fix this thing up? Maybe they salvaged it before they got closed down yesterday.
Free isn't always free, JP. Just be careful.
Yeah. Anyway, it is sad, especially just with the history and heritage of a studio like that. Like Red Faction is like, for a lot of people, that's a classic PS2 title or whatever platform you played that on, and some very like innovative gameplay elements were used in that series. And Saints Row's obviously been, I wouldn't quite say it's competitor to GTA, but it's certainly been beloved by people that enjoy that type of thing. So it's sad to see, with just knowing how many people would be without work, and it's a deep pool of talent out there now looking for work, with the likes of BioWare and the others we mentioned. Gearbox as well. I love that all these things are just popping off on LinkedIn. It's giving LinkedIn some relevance as a social media platform, I think. But yeah, it's a tough gig, game developer. It just kind of makes you think, like, who would want to be a game developer? I always think, like, who would want to be a cop? You get nothing but like abused, and then okay, we won't get into the politics of like Black Lives Matter and cops and all that kind of stuff, but like it doesn't seem like a fun thing to do. And at the same time, the games industry, it's like, you gotta love what you're doing, but at the same time, you're gonna be worrying so much about your job security and where's your next paycheck coming from, because it's volatile. And at a time like this, when the games industry itself has never made more money than it's making now, people are spending more money than they ever have on games, but that doesn't matter because times are tough. Economy, these like Embracer groups have to cut costs so they can buy another 50 studios next year. It doesn't really make sense. And the fact that they call themselves in this release a leader in the video game industry kind of made me chuckle as well, because I wouldn't put them in that basket, as much as they do own a lot of studios, and some of those are very talented studios, but they're certainly not in the top tier.
No, and an Embracer group especially is not like, some of the studios and the people working in said studios are definitely leaders in their field, but Embracer group, they're just like, all they do is cannibalize the industry. They're like, how are we going to show growth and show that we're a market leader? Let's buy a market leader, or let's absorb a market leader. Like, it's disgusting. It's that fat cat bullshit mentality. And all the C-level employees amongst Embracer Group, where they're not getting their usual X valued commission check or bonuses based off the success of some of their titles. They knee jerk and do things like that, where it's like, what? How are we going to increase profitability? We're just going to shut a studio down, and then we'll recoup a bit of money on the stock market. Then we'll go buy another handful of studios. Like, I know they had, like, it wasn't confirmed what the studios and what the play was, but they had like a multi-billion-dollar deal that fell through earlier this year, which I think sort of probably
I think
ruffled a few feathers.
With the Saudi, one of the Saudi Arabian groups that's very similar to them in buying up a lot of big companies.
Yeah, so it's just gross, and I just am getting really sick of them watering down the human element to this, and they're like, we just want to strengthen the group. We want to make better games. And it's like, well, you can't make better games if you don't have the staff to make them. Like, it just really, really frustrates me, this stuff, and I feel for everybody.
It's very Elon Musk being like, I'm just going to sack half of Twitter and assume that it's somehow going to make it better. Like, come on, man.
It's very, very frustrating. And even though we've said similar things last week in regards to the BioWare discussion that we sort of had on episode 332, like, hopefully everyone can land on their feet and get some steady work and some stable work. Like you said, this is an industry that is so, like, it's a house of cards. Like, feels like you could be successful and working at a great studio and making great games one minute, and the next thing they're like, no, we're shutting this whole thing down. Good luck, everybody. There's your cardboard box. Take your things, clear out your desk, and we'll see you later. And it's really disheartening because this is an industry that we love so much, and they make so many special things that we adore for years and years and years, and they hold such a sort of dear place in our hearts. And the people that make them are just constantly just getting fucked, and it's horrible. I feel for them, and like it's scary. Like I know you're in that space. Like luckily it's not your full time right now, but it could be down the line. And you know, if that was to happen, I'd be worrying about you week to week because, you know, you got a family and everything else. Like, it's scary shit, man.
Honestly, it's one of the reasons that I've stopped looking for studio work in the games industry, because I look at people that I know who work in studios, and some of them are very happy and then some of them aren't. And it's very, like, toxic and, like, is my game going to get cancelled? And am I going to have a job next week? And it's, and, you know, we've seen layoffs happen locally in Australia in the past 18 months as well. And it's tough because if you are laid off in this country, it's not like there's a million studios you can go and find in the city that you want to live in or whatever it is. So yeah, it's you got to really love it, and you got to give full credit to the people who can make that their lifestyle, because it really takes a sacrifice to put yourself in that position to make that art that so many people love and that these guys love to make. So yeah, we wish everyone the best, and just hope that you know, there's so many parallels to like the writer's strike and the kind of thing that's happening where these people are in this position where they have, from some perspectives, they have no power, but they're the ones that are making this magic happen, and they need to be respected and given some of that power back. So yeah, wish the best to everyone to end that strike, and let's get our game developers some job security however we can.
100%, man. Like, sadly, it's probably not going to be the last time we'll be reporting on things like this between now and the end of 2023. But I've got my fingers crossed and my optimism at an all-time high right now that it will be the case. But the realist in me is saying, no, you fool. Get ready to talk about more jobs being cut and more studios being evaluated strategically to make the best games they can and whatever bullshit they want to throw at us. But JP, let's get far away from this nonsense into some better, more enjoyable nonsense, which we call
Miss Allie Hart's Carousel of Chaos.
Anarchy! I don't even know what that means, but I love it!
All right, JP, we are back with another edition of Miss Allie Hart's Carousel of Chaos. And Jono, Australia's finest, I'm going to be taking you through something that I call Who Am I? So I'm going to be giving you a series of factoids or pieces of information about a particular character from a video game or a video game series, and you need to guess who that person or that creature or that thing is.
Okay.
Have you got any questions that you need some validation on first as far as...
No.
What I'm going to give you, it's fairly self-explanatory. I think you're a very smart man.
Yeah, no. I thought it was going to be like a personality in the games industry. So now that I know it's a character, that's a good hint off the top.
Yeah, I'm just too nice and too giving. I could have been a little bit more cryptic, but you know what? Like, I'm not here to muck you around any more than I usually do. So,
what's the over/under for like when is it impressive that I guess this? Is it like in the first 5 questions, or is it like if I get it at all, that's a win?
I think the way I've scaled it is like the first handful of bits of information I'll throw at you, I guess they are a little bit more dense or non-descriptive, or they don't give you a lot to go by. But as it goes on, I think the breadcrumbs get bigger and bigger for you to follow. So I was trying to work out like a scoring metric. Like if you got it on the first one, you get 10 points all the way down to 1 if you got it on the 10th. But I think I've written down maybe 15 or so, depending on where you go. So
I'll just tell you, I'm aiming for the first half. That's that's a win to me at this point.
Yeah, I've got 15. So I'll work it like this, right? So if you landed on the first one, you get the full 15 points, but every following piece of info I throw at you, it'll go from 15 points to 14 to 13 to 12.
What can I do with these points? Can I cash them in?
Maybe. I haven't thought that far ahead. Very fast and loose stuff here. All right, so JP, the first bit of news or the first bit of information I'm going to throw at you is this. I made my video game debut in 1996.
Okay. I haven't got. I'm not going to guess yet.
Okay.
Wait a
And
second.
you're not like, you don't fail if you guess once and
Okay,
it's
yeah.
wrong. But you only get like one guess per piece of information I throw at
So
you.
should
you can't just go,
I throw out a guess then?
if you want to. You don't have to.
Crash Bandicoot.
That is incorrect.
Okay.
The
Continue.
franchise that I am part of is the fourth title to be developed under the studio's rebranded banner. Following titles Keith the Thief, Rings of Power, and Way of the Warrior.
I feel like that would have been a big hint if I had heard of any of those games.
I think so. I would have probably not put it in if they were bigger, more popular games.
So you're not saying it's in the same series. It's that developer's fourth game.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
The next
Continue.
one.
Yep.
I grew up in a large family of circus performers.
Okay.
My middle name is Periwinkle.
I'm just writing down some notes so I can look back at the end if I haven't got this.
Okay.
Periwinkle.
So the fifth one.
Okay.
I was conceived as a more malevolent. How do you say malevolent? How the fuck do you say malevolent? There we go. I was conceived as a more malevolent. Fuck. I was conceived as a more. I think I've just had a stroke. I was conceived as a more malevolent version of Brain from Pinky and the Brain.
Okay.
Do you want me to give you another one?
Just let me think for a second. You can,
I'll give you
you can edit the
10
thinking
seconds of
time.
think time.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
All right. I was first voiced by Brendan O'Brien.
That name means literally zero to me.
Okay. All right. I stand 1.6 meters tall, or approximately 5 foot 3 inches, and weigh around 59 kilograms, or 130 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, I have thoughts, but I'm gonna keep hearing some things.
Okay. All right. The eighth bit of information. In the epilogue of the game I debuted in, it is stated that the land and remains of my castle have been sold to a resort developer, and said resort developer then proceeds to open up a plus-size clothing shop.
Okay. Okay, this is fun. Keep going. We're in the back half now, aren't we?
Yeah, so we're on the 9th one now. My best/only friend's name is Nitrous Brio.
Okay. This is what when I said I think I might know who this is, I was right. It's Neo Cortex.
JP, that is indeed correct.
Yes.
It is Dr. Neo Periwinkle Cortex, and you got that on the 9th go around, so you get yourself a juicy 9 points there.
Nice. How about that Crash Bandicoot guess straight off the bat, though?
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, man, I gotta no sell this pretty hard right now.
Okay. Yeah. Let's hear the rest of those hints just to see if see what else you had cooked up.
Yeah, sure. So the next hint I had was after the first game, the voice acting duties were then passed on to Clancy Brown.
Okay, I know him. He's on Ahsoka.
Yeah, he's on a few things. He's a bit of a dude, old Clancy
he is.
Brown. He actually left gaming voiceover due to Crash Bandicoot and the shitty work conditions of working in VO, apparently. So he's out.
He came back for Detroit Become Human, so he's back.
All right. So during the concept stage, I was described to character designer Charles Zambilis as having a huge head but a tiny body. He's a mad scientist and he dresses a bit like a Nazi from the Jetsons. That probably would have helped. That probably would have sealed it close, I'd say.
Yeah. But when you said brain, that was when I went, okay, maybe it's him. So
yeah. I probably should have kept that one down there, but I wanted to give you something a little soft in that first sort of 5. The next one, my most recognized physical feature would have to be the giant N tattooed on my forehead.
Yeah. If I missed it up until this point, that would have been the giveaway.
Yeah, and it's funny, that N actually stands for nerd, because working in that circus, he was getting bullied a lot of the time, and the family act was based around him and his scientific genius, and they were giving it to him. It's kind of pretty heavy, his backstory.
Yeah,
his family all died in a fireworks explosion and stuff like that. Like, it's a time. Yeah.
I didn't realize there was so much lore. Is there this much information about Crash, or is it just the villains that get
No, there's this about Crash as well.
Oh, jeez.
And yeah, then I enjoyed the use of my Evolvo Ray. Apart from the mainline franchise that I regularly am part of, I've also appeared in Skylanders Imaginators. And then the last one I had is when driving a kart competitively, my stats see me classified as an all-around racer. And then I had some other ones that were just like, talking about a bandicoot that he experiments on and stuff. So
sure.
There you go. You got it on 9. So you got yourself 9 points. I don't know what that equates to. I guess with some of the other guest hosts that might be rolling in, I can put them through this too and see where they stack up compared to you. But there you go.
Very good.
Doctor
Thanks, Brendan.
Neo, Periwinkle, Cortex.
I wonder if that lore is actually in-game, or if it's one of those things that, back in the day, you get the manual, you open up the game cover, you read through, there's a little bio in each character.
Maybe.
I don't remember. I know there was, I guess obviously there was dialogue, but yeah, that's such a level of detail that completely new to me.
They took some time to hash it all out. Like, there's a lot in there. So, Joe Pearson, who was the Crash Bandicoot co-artist, wrote a full backstory for Cortex as part of the game's production Bible. So, yeah, I don't know if it's like just in the old PlayStation manual as such, but it's certainly out there and it's been confirmed and verified. So there you go.
Just ripe for a Illumination-style animated movie.
I'd watch that. It'd be fun.
We've got Mario, and there's talks about Jack and Daxter, but go back to Crash. Like, the lore's already there.
I'm surprised we haven't seen like a How to Train Your Dragon / Spyro collab going on here or something. Make a croc show. I'll watch a croc show. Was it Legend of the Gobbos or something? Which was still the dumbest title ever, but especially now you're a bit older, you just think of other things. But anyway, JP, there you go. 9 points. Right. 9 points. Yeah, that one's on Pornhub right now, I think. So check that one out. Only if you're above the age of 18. If you're not, get your parents' permission first. All right, JP. That's what's been happening as far as the week that was, but let's shift into this.
The week that's yet to come, presented by Dash Water.
Shout out to Dash Water. I'm currently enjoying a nice can of raspberry-flavored Dash Water. No sugar, no calories, no sweeteners. Just delicious, wonky fruit and a natural, refreshing taste. All right, JP. If you're looking for things to consume this week, don't worry, because we've got you covered. We're going to go to the cinema. There's plenty of films out. There's Everybody Loves Jean, The Nun 2, which is part of that broader Insidious franchise. The first Nun film was kind of shitty, so I'm assuming the second one's going to be equally as shitty. Biosphere is coming out. They've somehow managed to do a third, My Big Fat Greek Wedding. So My Big Fat Greek Wedding 3 is coming out. But the big one, for any of those nostalgia hunters out there, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem is coming to cinemas this week. But I think it's also dropping on digital, like right now. So really? You've got some loopholes there to check that one out. So you can check them out if you want to watch something in the theater. I want to play some games. We've got Chance of Sinar, Rune, Factory 3 Special, Baldur's Gate 3 arriving on the PlayStation 5. So JP, now's your time to jump in. Starfield coming out on Xbox as well as PC. Final Fantasy VII Ever Crisis on mobile. Rugby 24. Fae Farm and NBA 2K 2024 all coming out between episodes 333 and 334. JP, out of that assortment of games and films, is there anything you're going to be consuming specifically there?
Starfield, yeah, definitely hyped. You can see the t-shirt that I'm wearing.
Oh, yeah. Where can listeners get that t-shirt?
It's been banned.
Oh, okay.
It's been ZeniMax came after me for selling these, but I managed to sell a few before they came after me, so it's even more. But no, Starfield, I know there's people out there, maybe even listeners of this podcast, who are deep into it already because of early access. You're considering that still, or have you made a decision?
Still on the fence.
Still on the
I've
fence.
got some things to do tomorrow, and then I'm like, maybe I'll just play Baldur's Gate and watch more anime. I need to check, like we were talking offline about checking out the One Piece live action adaptation, so maybe I'll consume that a little bit and play some more games until Starfield gets into our hands.
Yeah, I'm happy to just sit with my other star, which is Sea of Stars, until Starfield comes out. It's kind of like, you go into a restaurant, you order your meal. They could just sometimes bring it to you instantly, and you'd maybe be happy with that. But it's kind of that anticipation of looking around and what's that person ordered? Oh, that looks really good, and can't wait till mine gets here. And that's how I feel about Starfield. Is like there's people playing it out there, and it's kind of like, yeah, I could be playing it right now, but just let that anticipation build a little bit longer, and then by the time you finally sink into it, it's like, yes, finally, the waiter walks past. Is that coming to my table? No, it's going to the next table. Oh, here it comes, and Starfield's in my lap. And
you're a much more patient man than me, because I would be getting really pissed off at the restaurant if I'm watching all these other meals go by. I'm like, I want my Starfield now. I've got my bib on. I've got my knife and fork in my hands. I'm ready to eat, so get it to me as quick as I can, because Daddy's hungry.
I'm very patient when it comes to food, Brendan. Like, I'm very big on that. Like, eating it under the right circumstances. So a lot of people, you pick up the food in the car, you drive home, they start eating the chips. I'm just
don't eat the chips on the way home?
No.
What?
I got to be sitting down, ready to. If I'm by myself, I'm waiting until the TV's on, the episode is playing before I take a single bite. If it's self-control, man. Come on.
Travel chips are like a part of life. Like when that's the reward for driving to the drive-through, and you smell it all. It's like, I'll just have a couple of chippies on the way home. You never touch your burger or your chicken or whatever else, but the chippies, they're fair game on the drive, and a couple of them will just make that drive all the more easier, so you can get home. You can sit down and fire up the telly. But man, travel chips are the best.
That's what I'm saying. Is I could easily do that, but I don't let myself. I let the anticipation build.
Why are you so mean to yourself like that though? Like, you gotta treat yourself.
Come on, man. It's the edging of food. You just gotta like build up to it, man.
Oh no, I just want to bury my face in it as fast as I can. Like, so would you get upset, like, if we, if I'm out your way, you're out my way, and we drive down the road to get some takeout, and we're driving it back to your place or my place, and you saw me open the pack and go in for some chips, would you be like, no, wait till we get home, or would you let me go?
I don't let Hannah do it, but you'd be fine. I wouldn't comment on it. You do you. But
what if I then tried to feed you a chip as you're driving?
I'd say no thanks, probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good when you get fed chippies if you're the driver. It feels so great. It's a cute little moment.
No, not for me.
There you go. Listeners, sorry to break your hearts right at the end there, hearing about Jono and his just horrific treatment of himself and his family, not allow him to have the old travel chippies, because they're the best part of takeaway. Listeners, let us know if you agree or disagree. Which side of the fence do you sit on here in regards to travel chips?
I think I'm definitely in the minority. I know that.
Oh,
yeah. Some things are better when you wait,
No, because they're the freshest straight out. Like, especially if you've got a long drive and you got to wait and those chips have lost that like peak freshness and warmth.
That's why,
you drive really fast.
I don't drive a long way. Yeah, I live in, just around the corner. Yeah.
Yeah, God. Like if I was an Uber Eats driver and I knew there was chippies, I'd probably be sneaking a few chippies out of every order I was dropping off. Like, you only got half your chips. Yeah, reach out to KFC. I don't know what happened.
That explains a lot, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, listeners, that is the official end of THG 333. And JP, sadly, it is the end of your first go around at the residency series. I'm going to miss riffing with you every week.
It's like I'm an Embracer Group staff member or something. You're just giving me the flick. I'm getting bounced.
I'm giving you the flick, but I'm letting you take some chippies home with you as well. So you can choose to eat them now or when you return after work.
I'll chuck them in the air fryer and they'll be like good as new. Good as new. But no, it's been really fun. It's been an honor and privilege to sit in the chair once occupied by Miss Allie Hart, and it'll be cool to see who you pull in here over the coming weeks, and I'll be back to do some hosting when you're jet setting and freestyling, wheeling and dealing around the world in the coming months as well. But I guess the next time people will hear my voice on the show will probably be at PAX. So we'll see everyone at PAX who wants to come and say hi, and we'll be recording some stuff there too.
Yeah, for sure. And they might hear on a couple other little ideas we're sort of slow cooking in the background that could be a bit of fun too. But yeah, it's certainly not the last time you're going to hear that sexy tone from Australia's finest there. But yeah, with September now firmly upon us, I'd like to announce that I'll be joined next week and for the rest of the month by Mia, aka Series of Blurs, who's a fantastic person and streamer and gaming personality here in Australia as well. And looking forward to riffing with her for the next couple of weeks. But yeah, JP, you're gone but never forgotten. You'll return to the microphone with me in due course, that I am sure.
Looking forward to hearing the banter with Mia. That'll be fantastic.
Hell yeah. But JP, I'm sorry to say it's time to say goodbye to you and your weird, restrictive, travel chippy-based habits. But it's been a pleasure having you on here. Anything you wanted to mention before we close the studio down for another week?
No, just love to all the listeners out there. Thanks for putting up with me and my ranting. Yeah, just yeah, there's a lot of fun games coming out that I'll be keen to talk about, whether it's spoiler casts or future episodes. So you haven't heard the last of me.
Damn straight. And if you want to find Jono on the social, you can do so over at Jono himself on all those platforms. You can follow me at Brendan8bit. You can follow us all as a whole at We Are 8bit. Be sure to rate, review, subscribe, listeners. But until next time, you sexy legends, much love.
Stay hungry.
I'll see you around.